Lena wiped the sweat from her forehead as she crouched under the old, rusted car. The summer sun beat down on the small auto shop, making the air thick and heavy. Her hands were greasy and stained with oil, but she did not mind. She had learned long ago that hard work was not something to complain about. It was the only way she could take care of herself and her younger brother. The small apartment they shared in the city's outskirts was always cramped and filled with the smell of old paint and cooking oil, but it was home. She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was almost lunchtime, though Lena rarely took a proper break. Customers came and went, sometimes with impatient expressions and harsh words, yet she treated everyone with patience and a smile. Even when the work was backbreaking and the pay was barely enough, she took pride in what she did. Cars could be temperamental, owners could be rude, but Lena always remembered her father's words, "Treat people well. Even when it's hard, and good things will find you." The shop was small, tucked between a grocery store and a row of shuttered buildings. The paint on the walls was peeling, and the floor was covered in oil stains. Lena had grown used to the smell, the noise of hammers and wrenches, and the chatter of her coworkers. Some days were better than others, and some days were downright terrible. Today felt like one of those terrible days. Several cars had come in at once, and the air was filled with tension as mechanics rushed from one job to another. Lena could feel the weight of exhaustion creeping into her muscles. She tightened her grip on the wrench and focused on the task at hand. There was satisfaction in seeing a car that had once refused to start roar back to life. The owner's relief and gratitude were enough to make the long hours worthwhile. Yet even with moments of joy, the reality of life pressed heavily on her. Bills were piling up, and the thought of feeding her brother on the modest salary she earned often brought a knot to her stomach as she worked. She wiped her hands quickly on a rag and stepped out to see a young man standing beside his car, looking distressed. The vehicle was old and battered, with smoke curling from the hood. He looked helpless, lost, and frustrated. Lena's heart went out to him immediately. She knew what it was like to struggle, to feel powerless when things broke down and no one was there to help. She approached him cautiously. "Is your car having trouble?" she asked, trying to keep her voice gentle, despite the rush of work waiting for her inside. He looked up, surprise crossing his features. "Yes, it just stopped working. I don't know what's wrong with it. I was on my way to an important meeting. I don't even have enough money to pay for a mechanic right now." Lena studied the car quickly. She could tell it needed more than a simple fix. Yet something inside her stirred. She remembered the times when she had been in a similar position, desperately needing help and hoping someone would show kindness. Without overthinking, she made a decision. "Bring it in," she said. "I'll take a look." The young man's eyes widened. "Are you sure? Won't it cost a lot? I can barely afford gas for the car, let alone repairs." Lena shook her head. "Don't worry about that right now. Let's just see what's wrong. We'll figure out the rest later." He hesitated, but eventually nodded, relief washing over his face. Together, they pushed the car into the shop. Lena rolled up her sleeves, feeling a mixture of determination and anxiety. She knew that helping him could be risky. Her boss was strict about time and money, and he did not like employees making decisions on their own. But she could not turn him away. She could not ignore someone in genuine need. As she worked, Lena noticed the young man watching her intently. He asked questions about the car, about what she was doing, and she explained each step patiently. He seemed genuinely interested, not just in the repair, but in understanding how things worked. There was a quiet admiration in his eyes, and it reminded Lena of why she loved this work despite the challenges. Fixing cars was more than just a job. It was a way to help people, to make their lives a little easier. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip lower in the sky. Lena's hands were sore, her back ached, and she could feel the exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. Yet she persisted. She replaced a part, adjusted the engine, and checked the systems again. Finally, with a sigh of relief, the car roared back to life. The young man's face lit up with gratitude and amazement. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, his voice filled with genuine appreciation. "I really thought I was going to be stranded here all day, and I don't even have enough to pay you properly." Lena waved his concerns away. It's okay. Just take care of it and drive safely. That's thanks enough, insisted, offering a small amount of money, but she refused. She wanted him to leave without worry, without the burden of debt or shame. Finally, he drove away, leaving Lena standing in the shop, tired but satisfied. The feeling of doing something good, of helping someone without expecting anything in return, gave her a warmth that outweighed the exhaustion. But that warmth did not last long. Her boss appeared in the doorway, his expression stern. "Lena, what did I tell you about doing work without charging the customer properly?" he asked, his voice tight with disapproval. Lena's heart sank. She had known this might happen, but she had hoped that her good intentions would be understood. "I just wanted to help," she said softly. He couldn't afford it, and he really needed it. Her boss shook his head. "That's not how we run this shop. You can't just decide to give away work for free. It's not fair to the business, and it sets a bad example." Lena's stomach twisted. She had done what she thought was right, yet she was being reprimanded. She tried to explain, to make him understand that kindness should not be punished. But the words felt hollow against the rigid rules of the workplace. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Lena worked in silence, her usual cheer replaced by a quiet tension. She could feel the eyes of her co-workers on her, some sympathetic, some judgmental. The act that had brought her pride now brought fear. She wondered if helping the young man had been a mistake. If her desire to do good had led her into trouble. As the sun set and the shop closed, Lena walked home slowly. The streets were quiet, and the air had cooled slightly. She thought about the day, about the car and the young man, and about the consequences she might face at work tomorrow. Despite the worry, she could not bring herself to regret her choice. Helping someone in need felt right, and she knew that was something no one could take away from her. Her apartment was small, but the moment she stepped inside, the sight of her younger brother smiling and waving at her made the day's struggles seem lighter. He had managed to cook a simple meal, and though it was modest, it was enough. They ate in silence, each lost in their thoughts, yet connected by the shared understanding of their struggles. That night, Lena lay in bed, thinking about the uncertainty ahead. Losing her job was a real possibility, but she had learned that life was unpredictable. Sometimes doing the right thing meant facing hardship, but it also meant holding on to hope. She promised herself that no matter what happened, she would continue to help where she could, to treat people with kindness, and to never let fear dictate her choices. Sleep came slowly, but with it came a quiet determination. Lena did not know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew that she had done something meaningful today, and sometimes that was enough to keep going. The next morning, Lena woke up with a heaviness in her chest. She had expected some tension at work. She did not realize just how much the previous day's act of kindness would ripple through the shop. Her uniform felt tight and uncomfortable, and the smell of engine oil and grease still clung to her skin from yesterday's work. She tried to shake off the anxiety as she walked the familiar streets toward the shop. The early sun casting long shadows over the buildings as she entered the shop. She could immediately sense the shift in atmosphere. Her coworkers were whispering quietly, glancing in her direction, some with looks of sympathy, others with judgment. The boss was already waiting near the office, his arms crossed, a frown etched deeply into his face. Lena took a deep breath and walked toward him, trying to keep her steps steady. "Lena," he said, his voice low but sharp, "I need to talk to you in the office." Inside the cramped office, the tension was thick. The boss gestured for her to sit, though she remained standing, nervously clutching her hands together. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Yesterday, you decided to repair a customer's car without charging him. Do you realize how serious this is? This is not a charity. You can't just make decisions that affect the business without consulting me." Lena felt her throat tighten. "I know, sir," she said quietly. "But he really needed help. He didn't have the money, and I couldn't just leave him stranded." The boss sighed, leaning back in his chair. "I understand that you wanted to help, but we have rules for a reason. The shop can't survive if everyone decides when to give things away. You put me in a difficult position, and now I have to consider what to do about it." Lena's stomach dropped. She had feared this, but hearing the words made her heart ache. She wanted to explain further, to make him understand that sometimes helping someone in need was more important than following rules to the letter. But the words felt stuck in her throat. She simply nodded, trying to show respect while her mind raced. After the meeting, she returned to the work floor. The whispers and sideways glances followed her like a shadow. Some colleagues tried to offer supportive smiles, while others avoided eye contact completely. The weight of judgment was heavy, but Lena did not let it show. She threw herself into her tasks, trying to focus on engines and oil rather than the uncertainty looming over her. By midday, the tension reached a breaking point. The boss called her back to the office and handed her a notice. Lena's heart sank as she read the words. She was being let go. Her act of kindness had cost her the job she had depended on for months. She tried to speak, to plead, but the boss shook his head. "I'm sorry, Lena. Rules are rules. I cannot keep you here after this." Walking out of the shop for the last time felt surreal. The tools, the cars, the familiar hum of the workshop had all faded behind her as she stepped into the sunlight. Her stomach twisted with fear and uncertainty. How would she pay rent? How would she feed her brother? The city seemed colder somehow, harsher, as if reflecting the weight of her worries. Back at her small apartment, Lena tried to put on a brave face for her brother. He looked up from his homework with concern, sensing her mood. "Everything okay?" he asked softly. She forced a small smile. "Yeah, just a long day at work. Nothing to worry about?" But as the evening wore on, the reality of their situation became impossible to ignore. They had barely enough money for groceries, and the thought of starting over was daunting. Lena felt the pressure crushing her, but she refused to let despair take hold. She had faced hardships before. She knew she could find a way through this one too. The next few days were a blur of applications, phone calls, and walking from shop to shop in search of work. Lena knocked on doors, left resumes, and even offered to work for free just to get a foot in the door. Rejections came swiftly, sometimes polite, sometimes blunt. Each one felt like a punch to the gut, but she kept going. She knew that giving up was not an option. Her brother depended on her. Her own pride demanded that she keep trying. During these long days of searching, Lena found solace in small acts of kindness. She helped a neighbor carry groceries, offered a ride to a friend whose car had broken down, and spent time teaching her brother a few lessons in mechanics. Each time she helped someone, it reminded her of the joy she had felt when she repaired that car for the young man. It was a quiet kind of happiness. It's one that didn't come with paychecks or recognition, but filled her heart nonetheless. One rainy afternoon, as Lena returned from yet another unsuccessful job application, she saw a familiar car broken down on the side of the street. The young man from the previous week was standing beside it, looking frustrated and anxious. Lena's heart skipped a beat. She had not expected to see him again, and yet here he was, clearly in need of help. Without a second thought, she ran over. "Need some help?" she asked, her voice calm despite the rain soaking her clothes. He looked up, surprised and relieved. "Lena, I didn't expect to see you. My car just stopped again, and I don't have anyone else to call." She smiled slightly. "Let's take it to the shop. We'll see what's wrong." As they worked together, Lena noticed the way he observed her, not just her skills, but her patience, her dedication, and the kindness that seemed to flow naturally from her. He asked questions about the repair process, genuinely curious about how she approached the problem. Lena explained patiently, her mind focused on the task. But she couldn't help but notice a spark of admiration in his eyes. Hours passed. By evening, the car was running smoothly again. The young man was grateful beyond words. "I don't know how to thank you, Lena. You didn't have to do this, especially after everything." "It's okay. Just drive safely. That's all I ask," he insisted, pulling out a wallet to offer her money, but she refused again. She had learned that some things were worth more than money. Seeing him leave with a working car and a relieved smile was reward enough that night. Lena sat by the window watching the city lights flicker. She felt a mixture of exhaustion and quiet pride. Losing her job had been painful, but it had also reinforced something important. Doing the right thing, even when it was hard, was worth it. She did not know what the future held. She believed that kindness had a way of finding its own path, even in the darkest moments. And somewhere in the city, someone had noticed. Even if she didn't yet know who. The days after, Lena helped the young man again pass slowly. With a mix of hope and worry swirling in her mind. Her apartment felt colder than usual, the walls plain and lifeless, but she tried to make the best of it. She spent her mornings searching for jobs, walking from shop to shop, leaving resumes and explanations of her experience. Some doors closed quickly, with shop owners shaking their heads, unable or unwilling to hire someone without references. Others promised to call, but never did. Each rejection left a sting, but Lena refused to let it define her. Her younger brother, sensing her tension, tried to cheer her up. He made small jokes, asked about the cars she worked on, and sometimes asked her to teach him new skills. Lena took these moments seriously, showing him how to handle tools, explaining engines in ways a child could understand. The lessons became their small escape from the harsh reality of bills and empty wallets. She could see the spark in his eyes, a mixture of admiration and comfort. And it reminded her why she could not give up. One afternoon, Lena noticed a struggling old woman in the neighborhood. She had been carrying bags of groceries that looked far too heavy for her frail frame. Lena dropped her own bag and rushed over. "Let me help you with those," she said kindly. The woman smiled gratefully, her hand shaking slightly as she passed the bags to Lena. "Thank you, dear. I don't know what I would do without some help." Lena carried the groceries to the woman's small home. Along the way, the woman spoke of her struggles, the loneliness, and the inability to get the simplest tasks done. Lena listened quietly, offering a smile and words of encouragement. It took only a few minutes to help, but the warmth in the woman's eyes stayed with Lena long after she returned home. These moments reminded her that even in hardship, small acts of kindness mattered. Despite the difficulties, Lena tried to maintain her routine. She fixed bikes and small vehicles for neighbors for little or no pay, earning gratitude and small tips that helped them get through the week. Every time she helped someone, she felt a quiet pride. She knew that life had thrown challenges her way, but helping others gave her a sense of purpose she could not find elsewhere. She began to see that kindness was not just about money or recognition, it was about connection. It's about touching someone's life in a way that mattered. Evenings were the hardest. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of cooking or the faint hum of city traffic outside. Lena often sat by the window, staring at the lights and thinking about the future. She wondered if her next opportunity would come soon, or if the world would continue to test her patience. Each night, she prayed silently for guidance, for a sign that her efforts would eventually lead to something better than one rainy day. As she returned from another long day of job hunting, Lena saw something that caught her attention. A familiar car had broken down on the side of the street, its hood steaming in the rain. Her heart skipped a beat. It was the young man again, the same one she had helped twice before. This time, his face reflected even more frustration and anxiety than before. She could see that he had been trying to handle things alone and had failed. Without hesitation, Lena ran over to him. "Need some help?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the rain soaking her clothes. He looked up, surprised and relieved. "Lena, I didn't expect to see you again. My car just stopped, and I don't have anyone else to call." She smiled slightly, despite her own worries. "Let's take it to the shop. We'll see what's wrong." As they worked together, Lena felt the familiar rhythm of repairing the car. The way her hands moved confidently over the tools, the satisfaction of problem solving. The young man watched her closely, asking questions and showing genuine curiosity about how she approached the work. Lena explained patiently, sharing her knowledge without condescension. It reminded her of why she loved mechanics in the first place. It was not just about fixing machines. It was about helping people, understanding them, and making their lives easier. Hours passed, and by evening, the car was running smoothly again. The young man was visibly relieved and grateful. "I don't know how to thank you, Lena. You didn't have to do this again, especially after everything." She shook her head. "It's okay. Just drive safely, and that's thanks enough." He pulled out his wallet, insisting on giving her money, but Lena refused. She had learned that some things were worth more than money. Seeing him leave safely with a working car brought her a quiet satisfaction. A small victory in a world that often seemed unfair. The rain cleared, and Lena walked back home, feeling both exhausted and fulfilled. Her brother greeted her at the door, noticing her soaked clothes and tired expression. "Did you have a good day?" he asked innocently. She smiled, ruffling his hair. "I did, in a way. Some things worked out today." That night, Lena reflected on the events of the past weeks. Losing her job had been painful, and the uncertainty still loomed over her life. Yet she could not deny the sense of purpose and fulfillment she felt from helping others. She realized that even in hardship, there were opportunities to make a difference. And sometimes, those small differences could lead to bigger changes that were not yet visible. She began to see a pattern. Every act of kindness, every moment of patience and understanding seemed to come back to her in unexpected ways. The young man, the old woman, even her neighbors, each interaction reminded her that the world was connected in ways she could not always see. She understood that her choices mattered, that her compassion was not wasted, even if it did not always bring immediate reward. Lena fell asleep that night with a sense of quiet determination. She did not know what the future held, but she knew that she would continue to help where she could, to treat people with kindness and to hold on to hope. She had already faced loss and hardship, yet she had also experienced the unexpected joy of making a difference. And that, she realized, was worth more than any paycheck or approval. In the weeks that followed, Lena continued to search for work, to care for her brother, and to help those around her. She did not give up, even when the days were long and discouraging. She carried with her the knowledge that even a single act of kindness could ripple through the lives of others, creating connections and opportunities that were often invisible at first. And somewhere, she hoped, the universe was noticing, preparing to reward her in ways she could not yet imagine. It had been weeks since Lena had lost her job, and each day was a struggle to keep her spirits alive. She had become accustomed to walking the streets, searching for any opportunity that might come her way. Yet, despite the setbacks, she never lost her determination. She still woke early, kept a neat routine, and spent her time helping neighbors and friends whenever she could. Even in her own struggles, she found ways to make life easier for others. It was this quiet kindness that would soon change everything. One morning, Lena noticed a sleek, expensive car pull up in front of the small repair shop where she sometimes did odd jobs. The car was unlike anything she had worked on before, polished and shining, stark contrast to the old vehicles she was used to fixing. The driver stepped out, and for a moment, Lena's heart skipped a beat. It was the same young man she had helped, not once, but twice. This time, however, there was a different air about him. He seemed calm, confident, and purposeful, as if he carried news that could not wait. "Lena," he called out, approaching quickly. "Do you have a moment to talk?" She wiped her hands on her rag and nodded, curiosity mixed with caution. "Of course. What's going on?" He glanced around to ensure they had some privacy and then lowered his voice slightly. "I want to help you. I've been thinking about how much you've done for me, even when it was difficult, and I can't ignore it. I want to offer you something, a job, an opportunity, anything you need. I own a chain of garages and repair shops, and I want someone with your skills and heart on my team." Lena's eyes widened in disbelief. A job here? After weeks of rejection and struggle, she could hardly believe the words she was hearing. She hesitated, unsure whether this was a dream or reality. I don't know what to say," she stammered. He smiled kindly. "Say yes. Let me show you that your kindness and skill can take you further than you've imagined. Come by my main garage tomorrow, and we'll talk details." That night, Lena could hardly sleep. She paced the apartment, thinking about the possibilities. Could this really be true? After all the hardships, the worry about rent, the fear of failure, could something good finally come her way? She felt a mixture of hope and disbelief, wondering if perhaps her quiet acts of kindness had led to this unexpected turn. The next morning, Lena and her brother made their way to the main garage. It was massive compared to the small shop she had worked at before, filled with state-of-the-art tools and vehicles that were more sophisticated than she had ever seen. She felt a surge of nervousness, but she reminded herself that skill and dedication could bridge any gap. Her hands, steady and experienced, had fixed countless cars, and she knew she could adapt to anything. The young man greeted her warmly and introduced her to the team. "Everyone, this is Lena," he said. "She's talented, hardworking, and the kind of person we value here. She's joining us." The team nodded, some curious, some impressed. Lena felt a wave of gratitude and humility. Over the following days, Lena proved herself again and again. She adapted to the advanced machinery, learning quickly, troubleshooting problems with confidence, and always maintaining her calm and patient demeanor. Her co-workers began to respect her, noticing her unique combination of technical skill and kindness. Even when challenges arose, she handled them with grace, offering guidance to others, teaching them what she had learned, and fostering a sense of collaboration. One afternoon, the young man pulled her aside. "Lena, I've been thinking," he said. "Your actions have not just helped me. They show a character that can't be taught. I want you to have more than just a job here. I want you to have a stake in this business, to grow, to lead teams. Your kindness, combined with skill, makes you invaluable." Lena's mouth fell open. She had never imagined such recognition. She had worked hard for years, struggled through poverty and rejection, and now she was being offered a future she had only dreamed of. Tears welled in her eyes, a mix of relief, gratitude, and disbelief. In the days that followed, Lena immersed herself in the new responsibilities. She managed teams, trained apprentices, and oversaw repairs on high-end vehicles that once intimidated her. Her reputation grew, not just for skill, but for fairness, patience, and a calm presence that inspired confidence in others. She found herself thriving in a way she never thought possible, and for the first time, she felt truly secure. She could provide for her brother, save for the future, and even think about helping her neighbors in more significant ways. Lena's transformation was remarkable, but she never forgot the roots of her success. She remembered the car she had helped, the young man whose life she had touched, and the countless small acts of kindness that had defined her character. She realized that her journey was not just about skill or luck. It was about heart, about doing the right thing when it mattered most. And in return, life had found a way to reward her in ways she could never have imagined. One evening, as she left the garage, Lena walked home through the quiet streets, feeling a sense of peace and fulfillment she had never known. Her brother ran to meet her, eyes bright with excitement. "Did you have a good day?" he asked. She knelt down to ruffle his hair, smiling. "The best day, actually. Things are starting to look up, and it's only the beginning." That night, Lena reflected on how far she had come. From the struggles of a small shop, the fear of rejection, and the heartbreak of losing her job, she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. Her life had taken a turn that she had never expected, a turn born not from ambition alone, but from the courage to help others, to act with integrity, and to trust that good deeds could have unforeseen rewards. She understood now that true success was not just about money or position. It was about the choices we make when no one is watching, the way we treat others, and the compassion we extend even in difficult times. Lena had faced adversity and had chosen kindness over fear, and that choice had opened doors she never imagined possible. And as she lay down to sleep that night, she felt an unshakable certainty that life had more wonders in store, all because she had dared to be kind when it mattered most. Months passed, and Lena's life had changed in ways she could hardly have imagined. From a small shop and endless struggles, she now had a position in a modern garage where her skills were valued and her kindness recognized. She was not only employed but thriving, respected by colleagues and admired by clients. The young man who had once been her customer was now a mentor and friend. She felt a sense of stability she had never known. Even with her success, Lena never forgot where she came from. She continued to help neighbors, friends, and anyone in need. Sometimes she offered free repairs to those who truly could not afford it. Other times, She spent hours teaching young apprentices about cars and life lessons, explaining not just engines and tools, but the importance of integrity and compassion. She had realized that true wealth was not just money. It was the ability to make a difference in people's lives. One day, a woman came into the garage, her car broken down, and her expression anxious. Lena recognized the signs of someone struggling, someone who had no one else to turn to. Without hesitation, she took charge, assessing the car, explaining the problem, and working through the repair. The woman looked at her with gratitude and relief, offering a small payment, which Lena accepted, but emphasized that helping her was the priority. "You don't know how much this means to me," the woman said, her voice trembling slightly. "I didn't know how I was going to get to work or take care of my family." "Thank you," Lena smiled gently. "Just take care of your car and drive safely. That's all the thanks I need." Moments like these reminded Lena why she had chosen kindness over fear and rules. She had learned that helping others did not just benefit them, it also shaped her own life, opening doors she never imagined. Her own struggles had given her empathy, and her willingness to act had brought her the opportunities she now enjoyed. Her younger brother, who had watched her journey closely, now had a sense of hope for his own future. He often assisted her in small ways, learning from her example. Lena took pride in guiding him, showing him the value of hard work, integrity, and compassion. Their bond had grown stronger through the challenges they had faced together, and now it was a source of joy and support for both of them. One evening, as Lena locked up the garage and walked home with her brother, they noticed a group of children playing in the streets. Some of them were struggling to manage broken bikes and makeshift carts. Lena paused, watching them, and then knelt to help one boy repair a chain on his bike. Her brother joined in, laughing and learning alongside her. The children's smiles and excitement were infectious, and Lena felt a warmth in her heart that was deeper than any paycheck or recognition. That night, Lena reflected on how far she had come. She remembered the small shop, the long days of rejection, and the fear of losing everything. She remembered the young man and the act of kindness that had set her life on a new path. She realized that each decision, each choice to act with compassion and integrity had led her here. Life had rewarded her not just with a job, but with the ability to influence, to teach, and to make a difference. As she lay in bed, her brother sleeping peacefully beside her, Lena thought about the future. She knew that challenges would still come, that life would always have its ups and downs. But she also knew that she had the strength, skills, and heart to face whatever came her way. She understood that her journey was not just about personal success, but about creating a ripple of kindness and support that could touch countless lives. In the weeks that followed, Lena expanded her influence. She started community workshops, teaching basic car repair skills to those who could not afford professional services. She helped unemployed youth find opportunities, connecting them with garages and mentors who could guide them. Her acts of kindness multiplied, creating a chain reaction of support and empowerment. People began to look up to her, not just for her skill, but for her character, and she embraced the role with humility and dedication. Through it all, Lena never sought recognition or fame. Her satisfaction came from seeing others succeed, from knowing that her choices had made a real difference. Her story became a quiet inspiration, showing that even in the face of adversity, kindness and integrity could lead to unimaginable outcomes. She had faced hardship, rejection, and fear, yet she had chosen to act with heart. And in return, life had given her a future filled with opportunity, connection, and fulfillment. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Lena walked home with her brother, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that her journey was not just about survival, but about impact. She had turned a single act of kindness into a life-changing path, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. And she understood, with certainty, that no matter what challenges lay ahead, choosing compassion, integrity, and courage would always lead to something beautiful. Lena's story was a testament to the power of heart over circumstance, showing that true change begins with small, selfless acts. She had learned that helping others, even at personal cost, could open doors to opportunities beyond imagination. And in the end, she had found not just success, but purpose, fulfillment, and the ability to touch countless lives. All because she had dared to be kind when it mattered most. Months had passed since Lena had begun her work at the new garage, and her life had become a delicate balance of responsibility, growth, and continued acts of kindness. She had grown accustomed to the rhythm of the garage, where every day brought a new challenge, a new repair, or a new person in need of help. Yet, despite the comfort of stability and success, Lena remained humble and aware of how fragile life could be. One early morning, as she arrived at the garage, she noticed a young woman standing outside, looking worried and holding a small, broken scooter. Lena walked over, greeting her with a warm smile. "Good morning. Is there something I can help you with?" she asked. The woman's eyes widened with hope. I don't know what's wrong with it. It just stopped working, and I need it to get to work." "I can barely afford a mechanic," Lena nodded, remembering her own struggles and the countless people who had relied on her kindness. "Bring it inside. Let's see what we can do," she said, gesturing toward the workshop. As she inspected the scooter, Lena realized it was a complicated issue that would take hours to fix. She knew the woman could not pay for expensive repairs, yet she also understood that giving up was not an option. With careful hands and focused attention, Lena began the repair, explaining to the young woman each step and why it mattered. The woman watched closely, absorbing the knowledge and feeling a sense of relief that someone genuinely cared. Hours passed, and the scooter finally roared back to life. The woman's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much. I don't know how I could have managed without this," she said, tears glimmering in her eyes. Lena smiled softly. "Just take care of it and ride safely. That's all I ask." Word of Lena's generosity and skill began to spread. More people came to the garage, not just for repairs, but for guidance and advice. She found herself mentoring apprentices, helping colleagues solve complex problems, and offering her time to those in need, all while managing her growing responsibilities. She realized that her influence extended far beyond the garage. Her actions inspired others to act with integrity and compassion. One evening, as Lena closed up the garage, she noticed a group of children playing near the street with broken bicycles and makeshift carts. Their laughter and energy contrasted sharply with the city's harshness. But she could see the struggles in their attempts to repair their own toys and vehicles. Lena approached them, kneeling down to offer guidance. Her brother joined her, eager to learn and help. Together, they taught the children basic repair skills, showing them how to fix chains, tighten bolts, and maintain their bikes. The children's eyes sparkled with excitement as they accomplished small tasks, gaining confidence and pride. Lena felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that she was passing on knowledge that could empower them for years to come. She realized that true impact was not just about immediate help, but about giving people the tools to help themselves. In the weeks that followed, Lena continued to expand her reach. She organized community workshops, teaching basic mechanical skills to teenagers and adults who could not afford formal training. She connected them with apprenticeships and mentors, offering guidance and support that went far beyond repairing cars. Her work began to build a network of skilled, independent individuals who valued hard work, honesty, and compassion. Despite her growing influence, Lena remained grounded. She continued to live simply, ensuring her brother's education and well-being, while maintaining a focus on helping others. She understood that her position gave her the power to make a difference, and she embraced the responsibility with humility. Every day, she reminded herself of the struggles she had faced, the fear of losing her job, and the uncertainty of life. Those experiences had shaped her, giving her empathy, patience, and a deep understanding of human resilience. One rainy afternoon, Lena received a call from the young man who had first believed in her. He wanted to discuss a new initiative, expanding the garage network to underserved communities, offering affordable repairs, apprenticeships, and skill-building programs. Lena's heart raced with excitement. This was more than just work. It was a chance to impact lives on a much larger scale. She spent the next weeks planning, coordinating, and visiting potential sites. The young man provided guidance and resources, but Lena's vision, compassion, and dedication drove the project forward. She met countless people, hearing stories of struggle, resilience, and hope. Each interaction reinforced her belief that even small acts of kindness could create profound change. The initiative launched successfully, bringing opportunities and support to communities that had long been overlooked. People learned skills that allowed them to earn a living, repair their own vehicles, and pass knowledge on to others. Lena saw firsthand how her choices, rooted in compassion and integrity, had multiplied into a ripple effect that transformed lives. Through it all, Lena never sought recognition. Her satisfaction came from seeing others succeed, knowing that her influence had made a tangible difference. She had learned that true success was measured not by wealth or status, but by the positive impact one could have on the world. Her journey had begun with a single act of kindness. Helping a young man with his broken car and had grown into a movement of empowerment, education, and hope. One evening, as Lena walked home with her brother after another long day of work and mentorship, she paused to look at the city skyline. The streets below were bustling with life, challenges, and opportunities. She felt a profound sense of gratitude, understanding that her struggles, her choices, and her compassion had led her to this moment. Her heart was full, not with material wealth, but with purpose, connection, and the knowledge that she was making a lasting difference. Lena knew that challenges would continue to arise, that life would not always be easy. But she had learned the most important lesson of all. Courage, kindness, and integrity could transform lives. Not just her own, but countless others. She had turned adversity into opportunity, fear into action, and compassion into change. And as she and her brother disappeared into the evening light, Lena felt certain that the ripple of her kindness would continue to grow, touching lives in ways she could never fully imagine.